Hey, hi. Thank you for coming by my site, Tori Magoo 44. Today is the 11th of April, 2016. And spring is here in Los Angeles, and I think spring is happening around many, many places, and it's always a joy. Now, in my last video, I happened to mention Scientology is like a multi-level horror show. And I was surprised how many people reacted to that and wanted me to actually make a video about it explaining it. So that's what I'm doing with this. How is Scientology, the Church of Scientology, a multi level horror show? So this is from my opinion, my experience. I was in for 30 years. I escaped out. I honestly, all the time I was in, did not believe they did fair game. I didn't believe they were abusive. I really followed the bridge to total freedom. I really thought they believed in freedom and truth and honesty and ethics and responsibility and all these things that they push. And that's part of the horror show because you get in with these concepts that are basically good concepts. But slowly you start seeing, now, wait a minute, like the first thing you learn about it on the communication course is ARC, Affinity Reality Communication. Hubbard said it was like a triangle. And if any one of those is out, let's say you have an upset with your friend about you're communicating, and it's like, I don't want to talk to you anymore. Okay, well, you could get with them supposedly and use, I love your dress. I really love it. I know that sounds phony, but I'm just saying you can pick it up with reality or affinity and basically bring back the communication. That's what he says. Okay, now you're inside the Church of Scientology and you see some staff member coming out just absolutely reaming out somebody else, screaming at them and just completely out of ARC, as Hubbard had said. Now, this is his own words. It's not mine, right? You're learning this technology, but then the horror show starts of like, well, wait a minute. Why can't those guys use the ARC that Hubbard talked about, right? And that you quickly get, don't ask, don't even ask. If you start asking about it, you're going to be sent to ethics. And they're going to say, maybe you're in doubt about Scientology because we heard you were questioning this stuff. And the Sea Org, they have to do what they have to do. They're different than you because you're public and they're Sea Org. And it's sort of like, oh, okay. Anyway, so that's a bit of the horror show that starts. But for me, when I originally said it, I mainly meant, and I'll go into others, but I mainly meant they start declaring people suppressive. This is my SP declare. Not a lot of people have them in writing. And I heard that from Jesse Prince and Stacey Brooks. And I thought, you know what? If they declare me, I'm getting mine. And I did. Um, and I'm happy to show it to people. And it's on xenu.net, xenu.net, the full, declare. If anyone, people all the time say, I want an SP declare. Well, I say, do what they do. They just make it up. All this stuff that's written up here is just a bunch of BS. I got money, I got paid, I'm with these horrible people. It's just one lie after another. So I say, just make up a bunch of stuff, follow the thing over on xenu.net and put it on goldenrod at a printer's, and now you've got your SP declare. But point being, they do declare someone suppressive. Many people don't get how much of a horror show that ends up being. But what it is once you are declared suppressive, just like me, they declared me suppressive, not a person, not a person. And I knew thousands of Scientologists. None of them will talk to me. When I first got declared, I'd run into them and they'd be like, hey, and then they'd remember and they'd be like, oh, they'd get on the phone, they'd be calling Osa, and I'd go, I know, tell them I said hi. It was awful. My ex-husband, part of our marriage vows was that we would always be friends, no matter what. We would always remain friends. Will he talk to me? Hell no, not ever, not since 2000. And, that's not right. It just isn't. You talk to parents whose children have joined Scientology and they will not talk to the parents. Why? Because the parents don't want to be part of Scientology. So it rolls down. And it's not just you've got the SP and then all of their friends. And if any of their friends talk to the SP, let's say her name's Mary, they talk to Mary, now they get declared suppressive. So none of them are going to talk to him. Let's say she has family that are part of Scientology. That's another level. No, you can't talk to your family anymore. If you talk to your family, we're going to declare you suppressive. So they're like, okay, sorry, we can't talk to you. Either you have to kind of join. And I talk to families all the time where they're like, I think they're handling me. And it's like, yeah, they are. Because Miscavige, you weasel, that you are so losing it that you're having to declare everyone. And I will say, in all fairness, L. Ron Hubbard said, for someone who is PTS, a potential trouble source, which you have to be to end up getting declared, you first should do good roads, fair weather. And he had a few different steps. In the very end, if you cannot handle someone who's really, like hurting you, or supposedly, because suppressive people are very harmful to mankind and all this other stuff. And if you can't handle them, then the final thing was to disconnect. Miscavige, on the other hand, is like, disconnect, cut them off. And I know he threatens people, because I know some people where they have wonderful children. I mean, my old dear friend, Vicky Dries, and I'm calling you out, disconnected from her daughter. Her daughter is wonderful. I mean, she's not nice. She's wonderful. I mean, she's like a mother's dream of a daughter. And she's never said anything against Scientology at all. I think the only reason why she had to disconnect is because we're friends. And how sick is that? That's the multi-level horror show. You see what I mean? It's like she's not even criticizing Scientology. She doesn't like it. Why doesn't she like it? Because her mother left her out on the beach at 14 years old and her brother at 13 years old so she could join the Sea Org. So yeah, they don't exactly like Scientology too much, and I think you can understand. Just like my mother didn't like Scientology too much, because they took me off my medicine for epilepsy and I started having massive grand mal seizures. Now think of you being a parent and everything's under control, your daughter's doing great. She joins this group, they take her off the medicine. She's found out on the street having a seizure, right? And the next day a seizure. And now she's losing her short-term memory. I mean, do you think she'd be a little bit ticked off? Hello. Yeah, absolutely. She didn't give a shit about Scientology, but she did care about her daughter. So you know what? You got to, they ordered me to disconnect from her. I said, no, I'm not going to. You show it to me in writing. And Hubbard said, do good roads and fair weather, which I did with my mother for all of her life. Right before she died, I got out and we got back together and really got to talk and share some things. And it was really wonderful. But I grew up without a mother. I really did, because I was in Scientology and she was a suppressive person per their policy. She was only a suppressive person. She wasn't a suppressive person. My mother was fantastic. It's like she didn't want her daughter having grand mal seizures. She told me on the phone, she said, Tori, they are going to kill you. Get it together. And do you think I'd listen to her? Hell no. You don't understand. Dianetics works. It's going to fix it. She said, no, it's not. It's not a psychosomatic illness. It's a physical illness. And finally, and I've told this before, but in case you're new, I went out on a date. She called me, said, what are you doing tonight? I said, I'm going out on a date. She called me the next day. How was your date? I said, what date? She said, okay, that's it. Either you're on your medication today and your doctor calls me in Chicago and says you are on your medication today, or I'm going to personally fly out to Los Angeles, and trust me on this, Tori, L. Ron Hubbard and the Church of Scientology will never, ever forget your mother. And I knew my mom. She could kick serious ass. And my dad was a celebrity. He worked for NBC. They had tons of media lines. And I knew my mom. She wouldn't just kick their ass. She'd be on the media saying, do not let your children get into Scientology. And unfortunately, it was great that I got back on my medication. And I will always, no matter how much people don't like Dr. Dank, he saved my life over and over. And I'll always thank him for that. But my situation, it's not unusual. It's unusual because not a lot of people had epilepsy. One guy died in Scientology where they took him off his medication. Luckily, I fought them for the whole thing, and I finally left. I escaped out. But, that's part of the horror show, too. That's why I call it the Scientology Truman Show, because you do not know how bad it is. You can't see the walls. They're constantly pitching those people out there are just evil, horrible. Don't listen to them. Don't look at the internet. Don't watch TV. Oh God, no. Oh, there's a comedian on making fun of Scientology. Let me show you about that comedian. Here's the awful information about them. They just make up all kinds of shit about people. It's unbelievable. And that you people that are in are still staying is unbelievable to me. I mean, this is not what Scientology was when we got in. When we got in, it was fun. We used to say, if it isn't fun, it isn't Scientology. Well, you can't say that anymore. No, that's not even part of the program. And you know it if you're in and you're watching this. And especially you young people, get the hell out of there. You're looking at a person who gave 30 years of my life to the Church of Scientology, only to find out it was full of shit. It was stopping free speech, breaking up families, medical abuse, fraud. They don't deliver what they promise. And no, they won't give you back your money either. Even though Hubbard said they don't like it, give them back their money, get rid of them. Will they? Hell no. Miscavige, you are taking the entire group down. And I thank you for that because you are a very, very creepy guy. And no matter what you do, I say to people all the time, we put up the sign, Phil and Willie and friends put up the sign, call me for their children, and for anybody disconnected in Scientology, call your parents, call your loved ones. So what does Scientology do? It's Scientologydisconnection.com. That's the website for it. So the day that it was opened, go and open up Scientologydisconnection.net and .org. That is so ew, creepy, multi-level horror show again. And these are just little things. I mean, I'm not talking about the Sea Org. You can go to Tony Ortega's site. Every day there is something else going on. I used to say it when I was in. This could be the biggest soap opera in the world. Why? Because they have shit every single day that goes on. And it's they doing it, right? They create it. It's not they're like, oh, all these people are attacking us. I used to say when I was in, you are creating your own enemies. And that's the truth. They're front groups, Way to Happiness, Narcanon, Criminon, Author Services, Applied Scholastics. All those things are just front groups to either get money in or to get people in Scientology or to safeguard Scientology to make people think, well, it can't be that bad. I mean, the Way to Happiness is like the 10 Commandments. I mean, how bad could that be? It's bad because they cannot apply it at all. They break it all the time, but they sell it to doctors, dentists, attorneys, and say, well, we found out there's a big problem here and the kids are really upset about drugs. And if you get these Way to Happiness booklets out, that could really help. And it's thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Now it's millions. We have people we've read about who gave $150 million. You have to that's giving it to them. It's like, why? Even if you want a tax write-off, give it to a real charity that is doing something to help people. Scientology is not. I asked the executives, what are we doing to help the homeless? You know what they said? Scientology makes the able more able. We'll have to get them next lifetime, Tori. Compassion? Multi-level horror show. Over and over and over. You go in this room, it's a horror show. You go in that room, it's a horror show. They're like, don't look in that room. No. You can't go in that room. That's a top secret room that only very, very few people can go in there. But if you paid us enough money, maybe we could get you in. I mean, maybe. We're not sure. Maybe. It's another part of the horror show. You have to get all of these okays from everybody above. You don't know who the hell they are, but you got to pay the money and get the okay. It's another horror show. Their bridge to total freedom is, again, a triangle. The higher up you get, the worse off you get. And you can just look around. If you're in, you look around at other people. You probably can't see yourself being worse, even though you know you are. But you can't really face it. But you look around at everybody else and you'll start thinking, they aren't really that OT. They aren't. OT stands for Operating Thetan, where you're supposed to have all these special abilities. They don't have any abilities. They don't have any abilities. If anything, they lost abilities. They were better before they got into Scientology. It is a multi-level horror show. So if you're thinking for a minute, just because Tom Cruise is in it and John Travolta and Kirstie Alley, shame on all three of you. You know it's a horror show. And I cannot believe you guys stay and support it, because people still join, mostly because you morons are in it still. So wake up, start looking at both sides. You don't have to believe me, but you have to think about this. Why can't Scientology say, look at both sides? Every critic can, every ex-Scientologist can, every never-in can, anybody can say, look at both sides, make up your own mind, except for the Church of Scientology. And they have to say, oh, no, 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 don't talk to them, and don't talk to them, and not them, because those guys are all really, really evil. The only solution is the Church of Scientology. And really, if you believe that, you give me a jingle and I got some great land to sell you, some swampland that's really, really cheap and fabulous. Anyway, there you go. That is the Scientology multi-level horror show. You're welcome to add to it. If you watch this video and you think, hey, she left out, I know there's tons more, but I can't talk all day, and you don't want to listen to it all day. So if you want to add something, feel free in the comments to add it. I love you guys. Thank you for watching, and you have a wonderful week. Bye-bye. Peace out.